Morning. That means Garland, Nixon, and Scott Ritter. Okay, well, mostly Scott Ritter are here for your weekly update. Let's talk. Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. That means it's Warrior Update time. Just quick housekeeping so everyone knows. We do this every Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. This is my Rockfin Premium show, which means that you can see it scrolling across rockfin.com. You can join Rockfin. You can become a member, no charge whatsoever. However, on Rockfin, the Rockfin creators, we do one premium show per week. To be a premium member, it is $99. My God, it's $9.99. Nobody joined. $9.99 per month. And if you join for, I think if you join for a year, they actually give you like 2 months free. But at any rate, so this is my one premium show per week. I do the first 15 or 20 minutes on all of my platforms. And then the other 40, 45 minutes go on Rockfin Premium. If you can afford the Rockfin Premium and do the $9.99 a month, it's highly appreciated. Helps keep the channel going, and I really appreciate it. And this is our one show. Scott Ritter, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Additionally, forget it. Let's get fired up. Jamie Raskin, a guy who I know well, a guy who, when I worked for the ACLU, I actually worked on bills with Jamie Raskin. Seems to me that when he went to Congress, he went in a real bad direction. Scott Ritter.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jamie Raskin for a number of reasons, but first and foremost is hypocrisy. I despise hypocrites. I respect people who have strong opinions, and even I respect them more if they have strong opinions that I disagree with.
Right.
Because I love nothing more than a good debate, discussion, dialogue. Not to get too far out of time, one of my best friends, a guy I've known for 24 years, nearly a quarter of a century, he and I are diametrically opposed on just about everything you can possibly think of politically. We're the best of friends.
Yeah.
Every time we get together, it is cats and dogs. We just debate the living, you know what, out of each other. And that's great. That's what makes America great. So I have no problem with people having differing opinions. I just despise hypocrisy. And Jamie Raskin, when it comes to the issue of this Ukraine conflict, is one of the greatest hypocrites out there. And this is where it gets sensitive, because Jamie Raskin's Jewish. And of course, anytime you dare bring up the Jewish question in relation to issues like Nazis and the Holocaust, you got to tread very carefully, because you can be accused of any number of things, including being anti-Semitic. The last thing in the world I am is anti-Semitic. I question, however, Jamie Raskin's his true beliefs when it comes to opposing the evil of the Nazi ideology. And the reason why I bring this up is Tucker Carlson has recently come out and called out Jamie Raskin about some statements he made, or is alleged to have made, regarding Russia. Mm-hmm. And with all due respect to Tucker, who I have no qualms with, he made up a statement that everybody is now quoting as if it's Jamie Raskin. He basically took a long letter that Raskin wrote that was critical of Russia, and he synthesized it, and he added meaning. He implied that Raskin was basically declaring war against Christian orthodoxy, and that we had to achieve a victory over Putin at any cost. Raskin didn't say that. Straight up, I'm going to say Raskin didn't say that. But in investigating this, I started digging deeper into Raskin, and back on April 28th, he tweeted out, it was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and he said, we need to remember the liberation of Auschwitz. Okay, I'm with you, Ben. I'm there. Unlike many people, I've actually been in Israel on Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I understand when they sign the sirens how you stand in silence while that happens. And I've been to the Yad Vashem, the museum, and I've cried as you take a look at the the pictures. I mean, they have a girl right there that's a spitting image of my daughter, and you know she died. And, you know, that just brings tears to your eyes. So, you know, okay, I'm with you, Jamie. Holocaust Remembrance Day. Within hours, he was on the floor of the House of Representatives chastising Marjorie Taylor Greene, whom I'm not normally going to come out in defense of. But here, you know, she dared say, hey, the billions of dollars we're getting ready to vote on to go to Ukraine will be used to support Nazis. Do you guys not understand this? And Raskin went, what evidence do you have of Nazis? You're just making this up. You disgust me. I mean, just lambasted her. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, Jamie. I tend to remember in 2018, you supported an amendment to the Defense Appropriations Act where you specifically called out the Azov Battalion as a white supremacist Nazi group. That's your words, Jamie. Your words. And you said we need to have an amendment to prevent American taxpayer dollars being go to equip and train these people. You voted for that, Jamie. And in 2019, you put your name on a letter to then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo asking why his State Department hadn't designated the Azov Battalion a white supremacist neo-Nazi group, your words, Jamie, as a foreign terrorist organization. And then you also voted in all the way up through 2022, the Defense Appropriations Act of 2022, again, denying funding to the Nazis of the Azov Battalion. And suddenly, Jamie, you're on the floor saying there are no Nazis in Ukraine. You're a lying sack of you-know-what, Jamie. You stand for nothing, and you're a Jew who pretends to care about the Holocaust. What does never again mean to you, Jamie? What does never? To me, it means never again, literally. Never again will we allow the scourge of Nazi ideology to rise up and perpetrate its horrific, odious version of supremacy on the world. And yet you're funding it, Jamie. You're funding it. It's worse. Because after denying that the Azov unit is Nazis, even though you rightfully called them out, in September, Jamie, you and your ilk invited these scum into Congress itself, an Azov delegation led by a man who has since 2014 been murdering people, Jews, Gypsies, Russians, was brought in and treated as a hero. And one of the things he did, Jamie, is lecture you and your fellow congressmen on the need to permanently end this restriction on funding the Azov people. Jamie, in your letter, the part of your letter where you where Tucker Carlson misrepresented. He basically said that you were, you accused Jamie of calling out, Christian orthodoxy. He didn't. But what Jamie did say is that Russia has become this bastion of anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ, anti-everything, and we can never allow that. Then explain why one of the people that you and your ilk brought into the Congress, the People's House, was the wife of one of these Azov Nazi thugs who's been murdering Jews and Gypsies and Russians since 2014, in there and praised her, worshipped her. She's the head of an anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ group in Ukraine who takes these people, wraps them in saran wrap, beats them, and kills them, Jamie. Kills them. Why? Why does she do it? Because she's a Nazi and she's married to a Nazi, and you let them into the People's House. So, Jamie Raskin, you're the scum of the earth. You're the worst kind of representative because you stand for nothing. You're not just a bad representative of the American people. You're a bad representative of the Jewish people, because no Jew worth his or her name would ever allow a Nazi into the United States Congress and deny that they exist, especially a Jew that wraps himself in the shroud of Holocaust remembrance. Never again means never again, Jamie. Shame on you. And that's my little spiel on Jamie Raskin. He really, really irritates me. I mean, I'm sorry.
It doesn't surprise me. Trust me, I know people who know him well. Like I said, I've worked with the guy, and I know people who were in the legislature in Maryland with him, who got stabbed in the back by this guy the second he went to Congress. That is vintage Jamie Raskin right there. That's him. Speaking of never again, here's the thing about it. The Russians lost 27 million people the last time there was Nazis on their border. this time they really mean never again.
Yeah.
What's happening in Ukraine? Update us on the state of the battlefield.
Well, the battlefield is, I mean, again, I keep using the General Surovikin's words, tense. A war is tense. I mean, it's, you know, to pretend that nothing's happening. The Ukrainians are continuing to beat their head against a brick wall, sending these assault formations into a prepared Russian defense where they're slaughtered. They're literally making no gains. I mean, you know, they might occupy an empty village overnight, and they're all killed, and the empty village becomes empty again. They are making, I mean, it was an interesting article in the New York Times this week that I love the New York Times. They just, you know, they get spoon fed whatever the government wants them to see. But it says that the Ukrainians actually have artillery supremacy now, especially in the South. That because we provided them with the M777s, because we provided them with advanced European systems, the Caesar, German systems, the HIMARS, that the Ukrainians, despite having numerical inferiority, are now able to impose their will on the Russians. And I mean, if you read the article, it's all over for the Russians. I mean, they're all dying. Their units are being broken up and they're gone. And I read it and I went, wow, doesn't anybody fact check anything anymore? I mean, you know, the statement, the M777 outranges anything the Russians have. No, it doesn't. Not at all. The Russians actually have systems that outrange the M777. The M777 satellite-guided munitions are unique. Russia has nothing like that. Oh, no, no, no. They do have something like that. It's in the system that outranges the M777. In fact, it's used frequently to kill the M777. The HIMARS has ranges and accuracy unlike anything the Russians have. No, the Russians actually have a rocket system that outranges the HIMARS and is as accurate as the HIMARS. I'm not saying that the Ukrainians don't have good systems. They do. And I'm not saying that these systems don't kill Russians. They do. But the idea that the Ukrainians have achieved artillery superiority or supremacy on the southern front is just a bald-faced lie. There's a war going on. It's tense, but the Russians and the Ukrainians are engaged in what we euphemistically call an artillery duel. And the systems that are being used are equal systems or advantage Russia. And there's more of the Russian systems, and they're winning this duel, and they're killing more of the Ukrainian systems at a rate faster than these systems can be replaced. And that's the stage we're at right now. Again, we're back to the grinding. Where the Ukrainians are throwing lives away and equipment away in these incessant attacks. And then this artillery duel is going on, and they're just grinding each other down. And are the Russians suffering casualties? You're darn right they are. But the Ukrainians are suffering even greater casualties. The Russians are able to replace their losses. In fact, they've just completed, the Russians have announced that mobilization's over. 87,000 troops are already deployed into the region. The rest are being organized into combat units that'll be brought in. But the bottom line is it's partial mobilization is over. Now it's up to the Russians to allocate these resources as they see fit to impose their will, even further on the battlefield. And that's what we're seeing. I think in the near future, unlike what the New York Times says, which is the Ukrainians are going to launch very successful offenses in the coming months, taking advantage of their superiority over the Russians in winter warfare to capture Kherson. I mean, I don't know. I've never smoked marijuana. Maybe I should, because my writing will become very creative, because that's the only way I can explain why a New York Times reporter, is right. I said, oh yeah, man, Ukraine can win. Supremacy. Winter is to the Ukrainians' advantage. Give me some more of that. Whatever they're smoking. I don't understand it, because nobody believes that the Ukrainians have the advantage. First of all, Ukraine itself has seen a power grid destroyed and its energy supplies severely diminished. They're not going to make it through the winter. They're going to be very cold. No power, no gas. Right off the bat, that's problematic, because even though that's a civilian problem, that civilian problem from a morale standpoint filters down to the troops on the front line. The troops on the front line are not only going to be cold themselves, hungry, but they're also going to know that back home, their families are cold and hungry. And so they're going to be spending more time worrying about what's going on the home front than they are what's going on the real front. And it's problematic. Two, logistically supplying these guys, just doing anything when you don't have that kind of infrastructure becomes very difficult. Meanwhile, the Russians, all their families are warm, well fed. They got electricity. The Russians in the front line, while they may be cold in the front line, are able to be withdrawn, cycled back into rear areas where they get a hot shower, a hot meal. They get to R&R, call home, friends and family program, whatever they got going. And then they come back into the front line where they go back to the deadly business of war. Some of them don't make it. Some of them get killed. Some get wounded. That's the reality of war. I'm not pretending that, this is all, sunshine and rainbows for the Russians. It's not. War is hell. But the Russians have it better off than their Ukrainian counterparts. The Russians also have better equipment than their Ukrainian counterparts. This winter is going to be very tough on Ukraine, and I wouldn't be surprised if sometime later this month, earlier December, the Russians begin large-scale offensive operations designed to achieve a more dramatic result. Right now, we have the Russians, continuing to push in the Donetsk area in Bakhmut. They're defeating Ukrainian attacks elsewhere, but I think you're going to see the Ukrainians basically fizzle out, and then the Russians will just begin their move. And I expect that move to be later this month, early in December. And once that move starts, I anticipate that the Ukrainians aren't going to be able to stop it. And we're going to be seeing, we go back to, our good friend, Jamie Raskin, this letter that the Democrats tried to get the president to read before it was withdrawn. The letter basically said, we'll continue providing this, but we need an off ramp. We need a diplomatic off ramp. And you have to ask yourself, why now? Why are they making this move? And part of it's political because they're coming up on midterm elections, and everybody knows that the American people are fed up with turning over tens of billions of our dollars to a losing cause. And so the Democrats want to be able to say, look, we're seeking peace too. Well, they're not, because Biden has no interest in seeking peace. But the fact of the matter is, even in the United States, there's Ukraine fatigue. In Europe, the Ukraine fatigue's real. First of all, there's nothing left to give. They just don't have anything left, and there's no more money, not in the amounts that the Ukrainians need. And so the Ukrainians are confronting the real, the reality that the world is not able, willing, or interested in continuing this open-ended support. And this is going to be demoralizing for the Ukrainians as well. So I think we're going to see a whole bunch of things come together come November and December. The cold, and then the political reality that the people aren't lining up to do whatever the Ukrainians want. When the Ukrainians say jump, the West is no longer willing to say how high. And then the fact that the Ukrainians lack the military capacity to sustain meaningful resistance against a reinvigorated and reinforced Russian military that is just now starting to come into its own. And I just think that we're going to see a lot of bad news for Ukraine and a lot of good news for Russia.
Well, Scott, I do want to get your thoughts on the Black Sea Fleet attack, the drone attack, et cetera. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump over to Rockfin. This is a Rockfin exclusive. I always try to give the first 20 minutes or so that everybody can check it out. Just so you know, I certainly appreciate everybody following the channel. On Rockfin, this is my one, as I said earlier, for those who maybe didn't see it, one show per week I do. This is my premium show on Rockfin. You can join Rockfin. It costs nothing. You can become a member. It costs absolutely nothing. However, to see my one premium show per week, it is $9.99 per month to become a member. That really strengthens the channel, helps keep the channel going. And when inevitably, as I suspect they toss me off of YouTube, I will have a backup. So Scott and I are going over to Rockfin. Members, only $9.99 a month. If you join for a year, they give you 2 free months. Thank you very much. If you can't afford it, just enjoy the channel. Certainly appreciate it. And we're moving over. Thanks a lot, everybody. We're going to talk about the drone attack, and the air war going on with various kinds of drones and missiles. And I understand something really strange happened, Scott. I understand that the the Russians fired a bunch of missiles and the Ukrainians shot down all but 6 of them. But somehow those 6 missiles hit 18 targets. I wasn't real good in math. I was an English guy, but we're going to try to figure that out. All right, we're jumping over to Rockfin. Thanks, everybody. And Facebook is gone. And oops. Remove from YouTube.